Hello, attorney! Good afternoon po.
Yes. Opo.
Hi, si Sean po to. Again.
Oo.
Okay po yung audio, attorney?
Yes, okay.
Alright. The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The International Criminal Court, or ICC's investigation into the Philippines' drug war will continue. This is after the ICC junked the government's appeal against the resumption of its probe on the war on drugs. Appeals Chamber Presiding Judge Mark Peron de Brishambo says that it was rejected by majority. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla had earlier reiterated that the government will not cooperate with ICC prosecutors, citing lack of jurisdiction. Let's get a reaction on this from Attorney Harry Roque, the presidential spokesperson during the term of President Rodrigo Duterte. Attorney Harry, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Your reaction, sir, to the ICC Chamber's judgment.
Well, on behalf of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, no, there's absolutely no reaction because the president has maintained that he will never face a foreign court. He will never face foreign judges for crimes that allegedly took place in the Philippines. No, the Philippines is a sovereign and independent state, and because of it, sovereignty and jurisdiction demands that it should be local courts that should exercise jurisdiction over these crimes. Yes, we became a party to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, but we did so on the principle of complementarity that the ICC will only have jurisdiction when local courts are unable or unwilling. So what is the reaction? Nothing, because he has been very clear that he will never recognize the jurisdiction of any foreign court.
Right, Attorney Roque, having said that, should the ICC then request warrants of arrests? Are we obliged to submit to that?
Well, they could, but the Philippine president now, the current president, has said that they will never cooperate, that the Philippines will not cooperate with the ICC. So it will fall on deaf ears. And because the court, even if after the preliminary examination finds that there is probable cause against the former president, then the court will never acquire jurisdiction over his person, thereby preventing the court from having jurisdiction over the person of the former President Duterte, and therefore nothing will come out of this investigation.
Right.
Now, having said that, no, without cooperation too at the stage of preliminary examination, no, what kind of evidence will they use against the former president? No? Certainly not the evidence that will sustain conviction beyond reasonable doubt, because the kind of evidence that will sustain that finding will have to be provided by the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, and even by the National Prosecution Service, all of which have been said will never cooperate with the ICC. And this has been the official position of President Bongbong Marcos.
Right. Attorney Roque, would you know whether or not former President Duterte actually knows of this recent decision of the ICC? He is, of course, one of the targets of this investigation.
I'm sure he couldn't be bothered.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Former presidential spokesperson, Attorney Harry Roque. Thank you, sir. Moving on now to the administration's Bagong Pilipinas governance brand getting mixed reactions. The Presidential Communications Office said that the new theme of the Marcos Jr. administration calls for deep and fundamental transformations in all sectors of society and government. Bagong Pilipinas was launched around 37 years after the fall of Marcos Sr. Some analysts and critics could not help but compare it to the controversial Bagong Lipunan brand from the martial law era.
So I'm sure maraming sasabi, even in terms of look and, di ba, sound, Bagong Pilipinas, Bagong Lipunan, di ba? Wala na lang kanta.
Bagong Pilipinas sounds too much like Bagong Lipunan. At alam naman natin kung gaano ka hindi naging bago yung lipunang iyon. Dahil hanggang sa ngayon, yung legasiya niya ng paglabag sa karapatang pantao, yung pagdarambong sa pera ng mamamayan at ng gobyerno.
We have more stories coming your way after this quick break. Stay with us here on One News. You're back on One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The Social Welfare Department's food stamp program has been launched in Tondo, Manila today. President Bongbong Marcos led the pilot implementation of the food stamp program, which is among the Social Welfare Department's priority programs. 50 families initially received an electronic transfer card containing 3,000 pesos, which they can then use to purchase food items from DSWD-accredited partner retailers. Aside from Tondo, this program will also be rolled out in some parts of Cagayan, Bicol, Caraga, and Barm. President Marcos said the problem of hunger and malnutrition remains, which is why the government is taking steps to address it.
This is the continuing part of all that we have tried to do so as to be able to achieve yung tinatawag na walang gutom. And for those who are not speaking Tagalog, walang gutom means no more hunger. And that is the dream of this administration.
Moving on to the economy, experts are seeing a positive outlook on the country's growth more than a year into the Marcos presidency. The University of Asia and the Pacific economics professor Ronilo Balberan told the chiefs that unemployment and inflation rates have gone down. That said, Balberan believes it is possible for the Philippine economy to expand by 7 to 9%. Our economic managers peg GDP to grow by 6.5% by the end of this year. Meanwhile, another economist, Mike Ricafort of RCBC, says that some major global banks believe that the Philippines could be one of the world's biggest economies by 2050 if the government invests in its 110 million strong population.
Ano bang plano mo ngayon na medyo lumuluwag na yung mga pressures natin? So, back on track ba tayo doon sa 6.5 to 8% GDP target? O gusto ba nating taasan yan to 7 to 9%? Receive ng additional na pera, no? Mula OFWs, Filipino companies from abroad. Pero bili naman tayo ng imports. So, tabla lang. Zero mo lang yung trade deficit. We will be hovering at 12%.
Majority ng population natin, working age. More than 110 million Filipinos. So, ang laki po ng potensyal. Ayun po yung mga bansa na malalaking populasyon, tapos may malaking potensyal, ayun po yung maaring maging pinakamalalaking ekonomiya by 2050 and beyond. Kaya, ang kailangan po doon, yung foresight din sa education.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. Up to 267 volcanic earthquakes were recorded by PHIVOLTS in Mayon volcano over the last 24 hours. Aside from this, 150 rockfall events were also tallied as a slow effusion of lava from the Mayon summit crater continues to feed lava flows and collapsed debris. Mayon remains under alert level 3 despite its relatively high level of unrest. At least 7 areas in Bulacan continue to endure 2 to 3 feet of floodwater from incessant monsoon rains. Some 40 families from barangays Bundukan and Igulot in Bukawe and another 37 families from barangays Malis and Poblacion in Giginto are also in evacuation centers for the meantime. The Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office has reported, though, that floodwaters are starting to subside. And President Bongbong Marcos has signed the controversial Maharlika Investment Fund bill into law 6 days before his second State of the Nation address. This new law establishes a sovereign wealth fund, which the government can then invest in foreign currencies, commercial real estate, and infrastructure projects. Marcos Jr. assures that highly competent people will be managing this fund. One News Now will be back at 6 p.m. with the day's latest stories. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.